Okay, what up ladies and gents, it's your favorite Asian robot right here. Hopefully, your favorite official content creator, the First Descendant. And today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the Thunder Cage build. As you guys know, I had planned to complete this in the preseason, but I screwed up and then had to rejig it in season 1 where I could change my mods around and stuff like that. So I do apologize for the delay in releasing the Thunder Cage build. We've tested it, now we feel it works just fine. And we have designed it around mobbing. Previously, our thoughts were that we wanted to have something that could boss and mob at the same time, but with so many better choices for bossing, i.e. Greg's, Enduring Legacy, and all that, the Thunder Cage, we decided to make sure it is a pure mobbing weapon. So if you're gonna level up Descendants or things like that, you don't want to play Bunny, you can literally use the Thunder Cage as Bunny in a bottle. So the Thunder Cage will be your best friend when leveling a new Descendant, and assuming you don't have a bunny on call that you can just say, hey, level me up. All right, the Thunder Cage will help you with all that. So let's get started. But before we do, don't forget to register me as your content creator. Link is in the video description. I'd be very grateful if you do. Now, here's the facts. We're going to go through the details of the Thunder Cage, the unique ability of the Thunder Cage, the roles that we use, the modules, and then we're going to show a demonstration. Okay, so let's get started. Here's the Thunder Cage. Let's begin with the details. The Thunder Cage base firearm attack is about 11,000. Nothing special or fantastic here. It's in fact kind of on the low side, but we don't really mind about that. Like I said, it's more for mobbing. It's not really a weapon for bossing, so I don't mind that its firearm attack is lower. And of course, it is ultimately a submachine gun, so again, not a lot of impact there. Therefore, base stats 11,055 firearm attack. All right. It is boosted up by the firearm attack weapon option, which you should always have on almost all your guns. Fire rate is 666. Evil number. Love it though. The fire rate is much slower than other weapons like the Python, but the fire rate here is not drastically important because ultimately this is a mobbing weapon, not a bossing weapon, so we're not too concerned on that. Reload time is 1.4, which is fantastic. Rounds per magazine 26, so you're going to be reloading pretty frequently, which will explain what we do later on in the build. The base critical rate of the Thunder Cage is actually 20%, which is really, really good. The base firearm critical hit damage is 2 times multiplier, which is also really, really good. And it's got a weak point multiplier of 1.2 baseline. Not very good, but we can still use this to our advantage. All right. Attribute status trigger effect rate is only 4%. Hip fire accuracy and aim shot accuracy, however, is 83 and 88 respectively, making this a very accurate machine gun, submachine gun. So this is actually really, really good. The damage drop off and effective range is terrible on this thing, but again, it is a mobbing weapon, so we don't really care because you can literally run up and gun your enemies. All right, effective range is only 23 meters, again a very, very short distance, and the drop off is very steep. The drop off goes only for another 20 meters, and then you're dealing 0.3 times damage. Again, this is why this is not a good bosser, because bosses tend to wander between 30 to 40 meter range in most fights, and this can actually be problematic. So the Thunder Cage should not be used for bossing. It's again best for mobbing. Get up close and personal with them and spray them down. The other good stuff about the Thunder Cage is that it moves fast. You've got a movement speed of 600, movement speed while firing 600, movement speed while aiming 600. So you can aim and not lose any speed. You can move around and fire and not lose any speed. And you have no difference from your base movement speed. This is why a lot of people like the Thunder Cage. The other thing is that the sprint speed is 800. So this is the upper end, and it's pretty good. So if you're sprinting around as Bunny, some people do like this kind of weapons because 800 sprint speed is fantastic. All right. So that is the base stat of the Thunder Cage. The base stats of the Thunder Cage, base stats of the Thunder Cage. Okay. Now that you understand these, let's move over to the unique ability. The unique ability of the Thunder Cage is that whenever you defeat an enemy, the defeated enemy has a set chance to discharge an electric shockwave, which deals additional damage to nearby enemies. Take note that the basic information about this is that until you fully upgrade your Thunder Cage, you've got a reload time modifier, and the trigger rate of the electric shockwave will not be 100%. Once you max it out, the trigger rate, instead of being a chance, becomes 100%. The radius also increases to 5 meters, which is pretty good. And the damage that you deal is firearm damage multiplied by 200%. So you will deal 2 times of whatever the hit was that killed the target. Okay? But take note that you have to defeat the enemy yourself. It has to be on kill. All right? So this should actually say on kill, but basically I think you understand. Take note that although it is an electric shockwave, there is no electric damage in here. As far as I know, this cannot cause electrocute, and it will not cause electrocute regardless, because although it is an electric shockwave, it is not electric damage. It is just your firearm damage multiplied by 200%. Okay? All right. Now that you understand the base stats and the unique ability, let's talk about the rolls. On this, I put firearm attack, critical hit rate, critical hit damage, and weak point damage. You'll notice that most of my guns, I tend to roll bonus firearm attack versus Colossus, but we did not do that here because, again, we do not intend to use this for bossing. It is for mobbing, therefore it is better to have weak point damage, or you can even have whatever element you want on it. It's really your choice. I leave it up to you. Okay? This is what I had on it, and I just didn't feel like changing my rolls any further because this was good enough. Okay, now let's get into the actual modules. For the Thunder Cage, I'm going to sip some herbal tea. I'm just kidding. But basically, I'm going to go through these modules. I'm going to remove my camera now. Did I just receive a party request? I'll sort that out later. Don't know who's trying to party with me, but hope they know that I'm shooting a video. Anyway, for the Thunder Cage, here's what I've got on it. It's a very straightforward build. Again, please take note that the focus of this build is for mobbing. Okay? It is entirely for mobbing. It is not actually for bossing or anything like that. Rifling reinforcement and action and reaction are pretty standard. These two combined together give you a firearm attack increase of 93%, which is fantastic. You've got firing fiesta because, look, mental focus, real life fighter, all these kinds of things, you're not going to be able to make use of it since your magazine is so small. You have a magazine capacity of 26. Even if you were to raise your magazine capacity, you already know that this is all part of the DPS trap. You can raise your magazine capacity if you really, really want to, in which case I'd probably replace focus fire with that, since this isn't really a high accuracy, like technically it's a high accuracy SMG, but it's still not a pinpoint accurate type weapon. So if you wanted to replace something with expanded magazine capacity, make sure, sorry, expand weapon charge, I should probably use the correct name. I'd probably replace focus fire. All right, but I chose to instead go with firing fiesta because no matter how much magazine capacity I jam in here, you're not going to get a lot of value out of any of the other ultimate modules. So firing fiesta works great. In 3 seconds with a fire rate up, you can mag dump pretty heavily on your targets, which is really, really nice. All right. Weak point sight, focus fire to increase your weak point hit damage. All right. This allows you to get a multiplier on your weak points of about 1.86. Nothing fantastic, but it's still pretty good because this means that whatever your crit is, and your crit is a 6.15 times multiplier, then gets multiplied by 1.8, which is really, really good. All right. For your other modules, I have better concentration, better insight, and concentration priority. Better concentration and concentration priority are what give you the huge critical hit damage multiplier. Better insight gives you a 27.8% critical hit rate. Not very special or fantastic, but overall still better than what you would have had initially. Okay. So I thoroughly enjoy having this additional critical hit rate. I feel that it helps me a lot. Fire rate up needs no explanation. Fire rate plus 25%, pretty good for this. And the last modifier that I chose to put in was reload focus. Now, some of you may ask, why reload focus instead of expand weapon charge? Look, it's really up to you, but I feel that if I include this, it helps me drop the reload time. And since concentration priority increases my reload time, this gives me close to the original reload time of 1.4 seconds. And this means that I spend less downtime not firing, especially when mobbing. This is pretty helpful. Also, since firing Fiesta triggers on a reload, this means that I don't have to think about it. It'll just go through the reload animation and off I go with my firing Fiesta, holding down my trigger and just blasting. So this is why I chose this. But realistically, you can also put an expand weapon charge in here. Won't affect the build at all. Or you can adjust it in any way, shape, or form that you feel is correct. Okay? But for me, what I did was just reload focus. Good enough. I put that in there. I felt happy. This is how it works. Okay? So this is my Thunder Cage build. There's only one build that I've built for it, and this is what I use when I need to level a Descendant. And I And like I mentioned earlier, if I don't have Bunny to accompany me. So, I'm sure you guys don't just want to hear about it. Let's go actually prove it. So how are we going to prove this? Well, first and foremost, I will go to 2 locations to prove this. Let's just go to hard mode, private. Here we go, Fortress Outskirts. Fortress Outskirts is a fantastic location for proving this because there are swarms and swarms of enemies to deal with, right? So we'll go to Fortress Outskirts, then we'll also do a simple infiltration mission, and I can show you how to mob, basically. Now, some of you may recognize the build that I'll be using for this. It will be Lepic's farming build. We're going to apply this right now because it is hilarious. As you can see, after I reload, I can just spam. So Bunny in a bottle works. As you can see, it's not as fast as Bunny, but because of the AoE, it's really, really useful. Now here's something even funnier. Draw all enemies together and blast them all. This is what I like to do with Lepic. It's great. Everybody gets sucked in and everybody dies. Now, as you can see, it is Bunny in a bottle, but you aren't exactly Bunny. So if you do not properly manage your stuff, you will still take plenty of damage. So please do be careful. All right, you might be Bunny in a bottle, but you're not Bunny. So some slightly cautious gameplay, some effort is going to be required. But for the most part, you know, you can just chill, turn your brain off, draw in all enemies, and then just start blasting. The thing about this, as you can see, is that you just want to get up close and personal with your targets, and you're literally just getting in there, blast, 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 and you're all good. Yeah, get in there and blast. That's what you want to do with the Thunder Cage. It's all about being close enough to your targets to make sure that you're not suffering from damage drop off, and then just absolutely waxing them. And look, 5 meters might not sound like a big radius, but hey, it's actually pretty big in the grand scheme of things. Or at least it's big enough. Just make sure that you stay properly reloaded and you're good to go. Just like that. Ow. Look at these guys whacking me. I will say one thing though, this can be something that makes you a little bit lazy, because like I said, very little thought is required. You shoot at one target and the rest die. So it's pretty effective at just, you know, saving yourself trouble, all that kind of jazz. So just don't get too lazy when using it. You still need to put in some effort to hit the head. All right, some effort. Is it over already? Alright. There you go. That was a simple and easy demonstration. Really required very minimal effort. Well, for the sake of time, let's go finish this real quick. And then we'll head over to Albion and we'll do an infiltration. Alright. Draw them all in. And blast. There you go. There you have it. Alright. So that's how the Thunder Cage operates in the field. This is hard mode, of course. We're going to also do a hard mode infiltration so you guys get a full picture of this. But suffice to say, it's an effective weapon that'll just help you get through the content, whatever the content might be. There's no need to think too hard. There's no need to worry too much. It's just simple, easy. Go ahead, do something, you're good to go. Okay, let me select a nice infiltration called the Asylum. Now we're just gonna do this. We'll just set it as a private operation, and I'll just rush through it with the same LEPIC, so nothing is changing. And of course, this footage is unedited, so you can see that nothing changes. We're gonna apply the same Thunder Cage to the entire process. It is simple and straightforward. Okay. I'll just delete these because I already have an idea of the roles that I want.
Commence mission to recapture the Asylum.
So if you had to do a mission like this, say without Bunny, you can get things done fairly easily still. Alright, if you meet a slightly tougher foe, I would probably recommend drawing them in. Or using some skills to assist you a little bit. So once again, we apply the same technique. I'll usually just go for whoever or whatever is the easiest target. There we go. Oh dear. I do tend to be a little bit lazy with lasers. Keep in mind, if you accidentally reload willy-nilly, it'll trigger firing Fiesta, but there will be nothing for you to shoot at, so be a little bit careful with that. That works. Oh. Some random sniper got pulled in too. Poor fella. Against tougher foes, try to aim for the head. There we go. Here we go. Oops. Out of habit, I threw a grenade. Wasn't supposed to do that. I was supposed to just show you guys the Thunder Cage alone, but my apologies for that. I am legit not supposed to throw that. Mentally speaking, like whenever I play Lepic and I toss my... and I was doing so good too. When I toss it, I automatically think about tossing a grenade. But again, wouldn't be a Thunder Cage demonstration if I did that, so I was trying not to. Basically, as soon as something spawns, you can usually take it out. Now again, this isn't meant for bossing, but you can still do some damage to the bosses. This is especially true when you rely on firing Fiesta. You can do some significant damage in the time that you fire. Okay, so like I was demonstrating just there, you can still do something. Okay, it may not be the best, but you're not totally incapable either. Yeah, I do not recommend it because as you can see, this is not really a bossing weapon, and you will struggle, relatively speaking. But you're not totally incapable. Alright, so use that to your advantage. Try to be accurate with shots. Take advantage of the good movement speed. And you'll pretty much be alright. There we go. Oh, might actually die. Was not thinking logically there for a second.
Mission complete.
There we go.
You did well.
Okay, so you guys have seen what the Thunder Cage can and cannot do. Ultimately, it is a mobbing weapon. Good for clearing hordes, especially if you don't have a bunny. You can get through most content with it if you need to. Alright, but trying to use it against bosses, probably not the wisest decision, because the fights are still going to take longer than if you were going to use like Enduring Legacy and whatnot. Like if I were to actually like go through this with bunny, it would be 4 minutes. Be half the time. But again, you're not totally incapable. You can contribute to the fight. You can still use the Thunder Cage. So I hope that this was an effective enough demonstration of what this can do, how it can help you. All right, it's not going to be the ultimate weapon, but it's still a very useful weapon, especially when built correctly. All right, thank y'all very much. I hope y'all enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Y'all have a good one now. Catch you later.